We're back to Palworld, and today is gonna be all about the resources that we get from our pals. Now we're getting to the point where we have to build things that require a lot of the basic resources that I really haven't bothered collecting. Now I do have a lot of them in some cases, but that is more by accident than intentionally farming them. So for example, we need to make a lot of computers. Now computers require circuit boards, plasteel, bio batteries, and carbon fiber. Carbon fiber is gonna be one of those things that we're gonna need a lot of, because not only is it used by computers, but also by the bio batteries that we need to make for the computers. Then we need to worry about electric organs, as you can see here, for the bio batteries. Another thing we need is circuit boards. Circuit boards need polymer. Polymer requires high quality pal oil. I also find myself needing more high quality wooden boards, which need high quality cloth. High quality cloth needs wool and leather. Then I also need cement. Cement needs bones and aquatic pal fluids. I also need a lot of cryogenic coolants, which need ice organs, corrosive solvents, which need venom glands, and of course the bio batteries we already mentioned, which need the electric organs. So there's a lot of basic resources we gotta need to start looking into to get them from our pals. The resources that I need to worry about right now are these here: wool, leather, bones, electric organs, venom glands, flame organs, ice organs, aquatic pal fluids, and high quality pal oil. So we're going to build a base today, which is gonna have the ranches we need and putting all the pals in it that we need for those resources. And this here is our base location, right in front of a lovely mountain that has a lovely tunnel in, with a nice river flowing around our base perimeters, then lovely amount of forest to make it look a little bit more wild, to give us that feeling that, you know, it's all about the animals. And yeah, I already put down some wooden boards in a basic area that we're gonna build on, but also what I really like about this base is this guy here. If we want to build up, we can use this guy to get on top of our base then, which is gonna be amazing. It's like a natural elevator. But we're not going to do that today. I just wanted to show you this because I thought it was really fun to have this as part of our base. And here are the pals that are going to give us the resource goodness. We have Cinemath, our utility pal, which is going to increase everybody's farming by +1. For transportation, we have Bellinor. Bellinor, I got in an egg that came from the raids. So once you start doing the raids, I'm not going to get into that, but once you start doing the raids, every time you do one, you get an egg. The egg contains a Bellinor. If you're lucky, you get a male Bellinor, but the majority of them are going to be female. I was lucky I had eventually one male, so I started breeding them, because to me, they're one of the best transportation pals. I know they're only transportation 4, but they don't sleep. They work through the night. It's great. And then we have the pals for the resources. We have the Malpaca, giving us the wool. I'm going to talk about the condensing in a second, because there is something I noticed that is worth mentioning. Then, of course, we have Depresso for the venom glands. Then we have Serpent, which I use for leather. We have Sparket, which I'm going to use for the electric organs. We have Cognito, which I'm going to use for bones. Ruby, flame organs. Foxicle or Foxicle is going to give us ice organs. Then we have the Dumut Guild, which gives us high quality pal oil. Now, of course, you can use a normal Dumut, but I believe the rate is nearly double of what you get from a Dumut Guild. So wherever the Dumuts are on the beaches, just make sure you do a little bit of a search around and try to find the golden ones. Then, of course, we're going to use Kelpsea for the aquatic pal fluids. Now here's a small note on condensing and the way I think it works, but if I got it wrong, let me know in the comments below. And this doesn't just apply to farming, it applies to any work suitability for that matter. Let's start with Malpaca, because Malpaca is the perfect example, because it only has farming is the only work suitability. And it starts at farming level 2. 4-starring Malpaca gets Malpaca to farming level 6. The reason my Malpaca is at 8 is because I already applied 2 ranching handbooks to my Malpaca, which increases farming by 1. However, what I noticed is if you have multiple work suitabilities, they seem to get shared. You don't just get +4 to all of them. For example, Bellinor, 1-star gets a handiwork +1. 2-star only increases medicine, not any more handiwork. So we now lost handiwork increase in that context, if we wanted to focus on handiwork, for example. If we 3-star, I don't have a 3 or 4-star, but if we 3-star her, then transportation goes up by 1. And if you 4-star her, every single one gets +1. It seems that the last star increases all work suitabilities by +1, and you can see that on the herbal, because herbal starts off with +1 on planting, gathering, and transportation. So 1-starring herbal was just planting, 2-starring just gathering, 3-starring just transportation, and then 4-starring was all of them across. I don't actually know exactly how it works with pals who have like 5 or 6 Work suitabilities, I have to look into that. But you can see here, Herbal at 4 stars ending up on +2 across the board instead of +4. And the only reason this is important in the context of farming is because a lot of resources have multiple piles to drop them in a ranch. For example, bones is at least 2, flame organs I think is at least 3 or 4, and then we have some resources which don't have much competition. I think Sparket is the only one that drops electric organs, and Kelpsy is the only one that drops aquatic pile fluids. Now the wool piles here are the perfect example where choice matters, because Malpaca is only farming, so 4-starring Malpaca ends up at level 6. If you have Lambal, it's all spread out. You end up at level 3 across the board. But then you also have Kramis with a level 2 starting in farming and gathering. But because of that extra gathering work suitability, you're not going to get the level 6 in farming by the end of 4-starring Kramis. Now, with that out of the way, let's start working on our base. Now, to keep everything aligned, let's put some temporary walls up here. I want my ranches to be kind of centered on one of those squares here. Let's take our ranch. Let's turn it around. And ranches sadly don't align automatically. So there is no alt, there is no key you can press that automatically aligns. So what I use the wall for is to kind of nicely center it myself manually. And then I look at the back of the ranch to see if it looks like it's approximately centered. Like that here looks just about right. So if we remove the wall now, it looks like it's lovely in center. I obviously want beds for piles as well, so I'm going to make them right across, and I'm just going to align this one up center pretty much. And then we're going to put the other ones right beside it. I kind of go from there, so I try to equally space them. There we go. We have these 4 being built by our pal. What I'm actually going to do is, just to help me build faster, I'm going to put already all our Bellinors in, because they have handiwork and they can help us craft faster. Now the next ranch is going to go right beside it. Well, it was a little bit of a gap because otherwise we can't center it the way I want to center it. Again, you don't have to do it. You can just slap them really as close to each other in a circle around some beds, whichever way you prefer. I just, like to use the space that I have for now. I can always change it later. Doesn't have to be exact. There you go. Then we're going to remove those walls. And beautiful. Now they obviously need to eat as well. So we're going to put a feed box here. We're going to slap it right here in the center. And this way all the pals can reach them from the 2 ranches. Now I don't have OCD, but I have builder OCD in games. And this is something that I thought I could do, but turns out I can't. I was going to make the same setup basically in an angle here. So we have what we have here exactly like that here. But the problem is the ranches are just too big. So if I try to put this one here, it's just not going to work. You see, it's cutting into the other one, and having to put over here, it's just not going to look right. So what I do instead is I'm going to put a 3rd one here. I think this looks pretty centered. It also means then that we don't need to worry about if they can fit through here. They should all be able to go through here, but I think that looks okay. Let me just have a quick look from the top. It looks centered. I think it looks okay. And now we're going to put all the piles in. So let's start actually with Cinnamoth. And then we're going to put all the other piles out. Here we go. Now the next thing we have to worry about is sanity. For that we want to get some alignment. Let's go with the high quality hot springs. There we go. 1 here. 1 here. And I think, can we get a 3rd one in here? We technically could, but it would be hanging outside. It does look weird. So I think I solved it. I have the ranches here. I have tons of beds opposite the ranches. We have the hot springs right there, so they can go either right across, but theoretically we have a walkway. And then if we need to expand, we can put more ranches on the right-hand side, just the same way as we have here. And then we'll see how we're going to do it. Now there's one more pal that I want to add to our ranch that I just literally became aware of, which is going to help us a ton. And that one is called a Sibelyx. Now I don't know where we can get Sibelyx except for this alpha that I came across. But it's a level 40. Let's go and get it. And there's also some fishing here, which is really nice. I think they're intermediate fishing spots. Now, I'm guessing this is an ice pal, so hopefully we will be well able for it on our fire pal. Oh, that was good. But we might actually be able to get that one straight away. No fight necessary. Okay, let's do one more attack. And here we go. It's the highest spheres I have on me. I probably could craft higher, but we'll see. Come on. And here we go. And that's our first Sibelyx. And now that we have the Sibelyx, we can actually see where it is. I'm going to have to make my way over there. I haven't explored much into this direction, so we definitely have to now to see if we can already get a few so we can start breeding them, so we can start condensing the Sibelyx, because that is what the Sibelyx does for us. It drops high quality cloth, because that means we don't have to get constantly leather and wool to craft it, because it takes 10 wool to craft a high quality cloth. That is a lot of waiting for things to drop in the ranch. Even with a full start out alpaca, you need several of them to make it worth it. It just drops not fast enough for making a lot of high quality cloth. So this should help out a lot. And we got another Sibelyx. I don't know if they're the opposite gender now or not, but I just came across this alpha Quill, this human, on the way trying to find more of those Sibelyx, and he spawned a Sibelyx to fight against us. Oh, and there it is. I was just about to give up. Let's hope that that one is the opposite gender of the one we got already. So let's have a look what we got. This is the alpha that we fought, and it is female. Then we have this guy here, which was spawned in by Quill when we fought the bounty. And that one is also female. And then the last one is this one that we literally just came across in the mountains, and it is male. It is distractive passive, but it doesn't matter because this is purely for condensing. Now let's condense the Sibelyx and let's have a look at how it increases. So we have a Sibelyx, they have 3 work suitabilities: medicine, cooling, and farming. So we should see with the first star, we can see that farming went up by 1. With the second star, we can see that we have medicine now gone up. With the third star, we now have cooling gone up. And now the last one should increase the levels of all 3. So we should end up with 5, 5, 6. Here we go. This is the last one. And we are sitting at 5, 5, 6. Now, we're only sitting at 6 because our Sibelyx has Farm Hunt, which gives it an extra +1 work suitability. Now, we also have a ranching handbook. I'm going to apply that to the Sibelyx, and that raises the Sibelyx farming to 7. So we're going to put our Sibelyx in there now. That's 4-star, and we're going from 7 to 8 farming now. So we have left that running for a while now, and we are at a comfortable high quality cloth count of 375. We don't need as much wool and leather anymore, which is absolutely fantastic, but we're still going to keep those pals in those ranches, and we're going to keep collecting those resources. So now we can put our focus back on what we needed these resources for in the first place. And with all those resources now coming in, we are able to make tons and tons of cement. We're able to make our computers. We're able to make our bio batteries. No more issues, no more limits. Everything is coming in just as we need it. Now, the computers still take a very long time to build, and they still rely on carbon fiber and bio batteries. And the bio batteries require electric organs and also carbon fiber. But we're hopefully going to solve that problem a different way. And for the resources we can't get through the ranch, we gotta have another means of doing it, and that is by using the PAL disassembly conveyor. And that's what I needed a lot of computers for, and this is what it looks like. I've just built one. This is basically an automated butchering table. So what you do is that guy, you open it up, and you can start pumping in PALs that you want to get rid of. And that would give you the same resources as if you would be manually butchering them, except it's automatic. So this was 10 swees, and we got 20 wool, and 8 sweet hair. Now be aware that alpha versions do not drop the same thing. If we drop in 2 alphas, we're not gonna get wool and sweet hair, but instead we get precious pelts and ancient civilization parts. Now depending on the alpha, it's not always the same. I did actually some testing with the Frostalion, and the Frostalion got us the precious ones, the red ones basically. So there is the more legendary or the more rarer the mobs are, the more pricier the material is that drops. But usually alphas, so far from what I could see from testing, is ancient civilization parts and precious materials. Now, a lot of pals will give you different resources on the butchering table, of course, as they do when you butcher them manually, but we're after a specific resource from a specific pal. And the pal we're after is right here in the number 3 wildlife sanctuary, just northeast of our starting area, very far northeast, just right here beyond the PIDF tower. In this sanctuary, there's a chance for a Shadowbeak to spawn. I already caught one, but I think it only ever spawns one of them, so you have to kind of fly around, get a certain distance from all the different areas so that another or new one might spawn. And there it is. It took me probably, I would say, 20 minutes of circling. It does help every now and then killing one of the other ones, I suppose, to make room on the spawn list. So what we want is this guy right here. I'm getting rid of my pal. I'm pretty safe up here. And we're just gonna go right at it. Let's see if we can get a shot. And as you could see when we captured it, we got some plasteel and carbon fiber, and that is what we're after. Unbelievable. And just as I'm about to leave, another one spawned. We're gonna see if we can lure him over here to this side. We have to be a little careful because where I'm right now, the drones can see me. Excellent. And there we go. And all 3 Shadowbeak are male. So we're very unlucky with that. However, we did get very lucky with one thing. One of them is service-minded, and service-minded is brilliant because the dropped items are increased by 50%, which means that we get 50% more drops from butchering them. There is a rainbow version of this, which is called Lavish Hospitality, which increases drops by 100%. As far as I know, you can have a pal with both. And we're gonna take one of those Shadowbeak to a surgical table, and then you have 2 options. You can either transfer a passive, or you can change gender. Changing gender requires a pal reverser, and I have exactly one. I don't know when I got it. It dropped, I think, from a chest or meteor chest. I have it forever. I just was waiting for the right moment, and this seems to be a very good moment to use it. I have 2 breeding farms up here at the moment. One which holds cake. By the way, if you want cake that will never expire and that you don't need to worry about keeping it cool in the fridge, basically make a second breeding farm and just dump cake into that chest and just don't use it. Now I have removed the bronze cherries from our party, though I think we might have gotten unlucky in this case, and these look like they're potentially alphas. Let's have a look. No, they're normal. Service-minded, lovely, service-minded, service-minded. So let's see if we get the plasteel and the carbon fiber. The drop rate does differ between capturing / killing them in the wild and butchering a tamed pal. There's 2 different drop tables as far as I know, because I've been coming across plenty of pals that got very excited that had certain drops, but then when I butchered them, I didn't get them. So let's hope what we get here will be exactly that. Oh, they actually went into my party. So here we go. And let's see what we get. Plasteel, carbon fiber, and large pal souls. I love it. Just 2 of them. 8 plasteel, 11 carbon fiber, and 6 large pal souls. That is absolutely fantastic. So far, the Shadowbeak has been the best pal to butcher. Now, what I do have egg incubation set to 0 for convenience. I think the original incubation time is like something like 3.5 minutes or 4 minutes. I don't know what they are for Shadowbeaks, but you can also go to your lab and increase or decrease the egg incubation time. Under kindling in the lab, you have the option right here, egg hatching speed +5, egg hatching speed +10%, and another 5% and another 10%. And under cooling, you have another 5%, 10%, 5%, and 10%, which increases the total hatching speed increase by 60%. You may also have a pal with babysitter in your base. Babysitter does increase the speed by 30%, but also the incubation speed by 30%. Now, the 30% and the 50% from the Braloha are not stacking. They actually, the highest one is superseding, so the Braloha will actually supersede the babysitter, but if you have the babysitter, your egg incubation speed, the plus 30% still applies, which means you can get a total of plus 90% egg incubation speed increase. The best thing about these guys breeding is they are dark pals, so they don't sleep. They just keep communicating all night long. All right, let's see what we got. We have an empty inventory. We have only Grintail in our party. There we go, 20 eggs. Maybe if we get lucky, we get a philanthropist with service-minded. That would be insane. No philanthropist in here. No philanthropist here, but most of them are service-minded. Now we can put 10 at a time into this machine, and none of them are alphas. That is brilliant. So let's see what we get from those 20. Now this is crazy. Not only did they drop plasteel and carbon fiber, quite a lot of it. I mean, 20 pals. We have the service mine, obviously. So plasteel, we got 96, 101, and 56 large parcels. But we also got 13 innovative technical manuals. And I think they each give us 1 point. How many points? 2 points. That means in total, that's 26 extra technology points. Unbelievable. That is fantastic. Now, of course, you're probably fast at crafting plasteel, you know, if you have a very good pal with a high kindle value, but this is free. You just let them breed every now and then, hatch those eggs, bring them over here, you know, put them on the belt of Condensing and make them join the heavenly guards. So, and it's free resources. Absolutely fantastic. Carbon fiber specifically is so valuable, seeing that it's used in computers as well as the batteries. Now let's see what we get from the alpha versions. Let me just put my bronze cherries in the party, and now we should be getting the alpha versions from the eggs, assuming that they are going to be alphas. They are. I do have an empty inventory, so let's have a look and see what we get from the alpha versions. We got 44 ancient civilization parts, which is not bad at all, seeing that we only had 3 of those guys, and we got 46 precious plums. Also getting so many large pal souls now, basically on demand, infinitively. We can make a lot of giant pal souls from this. Now, I know it's a 2-to-1 ratio, but just even making a few of them helps us to level up 1 pal all the way to the max in one of the attributes. And then we can go to our statue here and say attack. I think we can nearly max out attack already. That's 30 giant pal souls. We have 57. It only costs us 6 large pal souls. Yeah, so we probably can convert a lot of them up to the next higher level. But again, get an infinite amount of large pal souls now means we're pretty much sorted leveling everything up. I might as well just get this guy up to at least 30%. There we go. Excellent. Now this is crazy. If this works the way I think it does, it's even better. Now I have 2 service-minded pals right now because one of them obviously was a male with service-minded as well, so I paired them up. But not only that, I can take these guys, go to the surgery table, which I never noticed because I never bought any implants. I didn't realize the surgery table comes with default implants, and I can go and also select, say, philanthropist, which makes breeding faster, and just slap it right here. If the selected slot already has a passive skill and your passive skill override it, that's fine. Boom, philanthropist. Let's see if I can do that here as well. Philanthropist, boom. And now we have philanthropist on both of them, increasing the speed at which they breed. I don't know if they're stuck. I think they do. So let's head upstairs and check out how quickly they're breeding now. That is so much faster. Now, another one of the amazing things about breeding is that if you have 2 alphas to start with, like for example, Neptilius, which you only can get as an alpha. I don't think Neptilius actually roams anywhere on the map for free. I haven't been to the Fate tree or anything, so here I couldn't find it anywhere except for the alpha. They do spawn normal eggs. So if you don't have Bronze Cherry in your group, not all of them will become alphas. All of these are just plain normal Neptiliuses. And the good thing about non-alpha Neptiliuses is that they drop Hexalites as well as Coralum ore. So just having 10 of them gone through the grinder gave us 150 Hexalite, 150 Coralum ore, and 4 diamonds. And that's not even with service minded anywhere near it. Meanwhile, the alphas give us 18 ancient civilization parts and 10 precious dragon stones. That's for 2 alphas. So I have a lot to do now, especially since I found out that the surgery table comes with a list of pre-configured passives that I can use, which means I can actually take some of my hard-working pals and put Workaholic on them, and Serious and Work Slave, and we're gonna be fine. So this is gonna be great. I'm gonna upgrade all of my pals in my base now so that we can have the fastest and bestest crafters. Zoe really is the best one so far. And the great thing about Zoe is, even though she's human, you can still obviously put her in the surgery table and slap some passives on her, and without having purchased them, I can put Work Slave on and Serious for an extra 50% work speed increase, Insomnia so she works through the night, and Workaholic so her sanity drops less. This is gonna be an absolute beast. So if I have a few of those Zoes running around the base, they're gonna be crafting all the computers and everything at high speed, and not gonna take a break. I'm gonna have to play around with a lot of the other alphas as well that I caught that are pretty high level. Frostillion, for example, I'm gonna have to actually see if I'm gonna be able to breed some normal Frostillions and then see what they drop, but I can only imagine a lot of those late alphas, breed them to normal, and they're gonna give you a ton of good and useful resources. But I'm gonna leave it here for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys had a good time with the episode. If you did, remember to kick that like button in the balls, and I hope I see you guys in the next video. And if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you guys next time. Until then, as always, viel Spaß and happy gaming.